Hello, I hope you can hear me okay. I'm just gonna hopefully reset my microphone. There we go. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm putting my screen across. Yeah, here we go. So we've got 8 days to the election, and there's so much uncertainty around. I find it really hard to see any markets trending at the moment. What I think is really interesting is the big pivot levels that we are at in a lot of markets. So for example, in Bitcoin, if we put our fib levels on from this big high to low, and we look at how we've reacted at each of these levels, you can see that pretty much all of them has given us a big reaction. Not always cleanly. This is a weekly chart. You can see this 236 fib held us down for 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 5 weeks. This 38.2, a similar amount of sideways above the 50%, back and forward. It was a bit washy this time, but here we are at this 61.8 level that was major resistance in June last year and started this big second wave. Now, the hard thing for me about where we are now is how we count these waves. So I'm just going to hide a few of these. If we think that this was a big ABC correction, it's feasible to count this as a big new wave 1. This is a big wave 2 correction, and potentially we're starting a big wave 3 here. Now, if that's the case, when I look at how we count this wave and where we are, it's possible to say that potentially we've done wave 1 of 3, because we've got 5 waves up here, haven't we, if we count it this way. The problem is that if we count it this way and say we've got 5 waves up here, this wave here in the middle, wave 3, can't be the shortest, and it's much shorter than wave 1. And that means that this wave here that we're looking at in Bitcoin, that the rally since the 7th of September low, can't go beyond this distance. So if we measure this distance from here to here and project it from this low, that caps us really tightly up here at 13,467. So we're pretty close to the level that we can't extend beyond. Now, what if we do though? What if we go sideways for a week? We have an inside week, obviously back at a big fib level. It's also these kind of spiky lows here, isn't it, if we look at them? And then we carry on higher, we break this. How are we then going to count this level? Well, you know how normally in corrections you'll have 5 waves up, won't you? And then you'll have a 3-wave rally, a 3-wave pullback, a 3-wave correction, if you like. Sometimes, you'll have a 5-wave rally, and that 3-wave correction will look funky. It'll retest the highs. Sometimes it'll make a marginal new high, and it'll do something like that and carry on. It's still a correction. Sometimes you'll get a really funky correction where you get 5 waves up, and you'll get what's called a flat correction or a running, where you'll have a pullback. The next leg makes a new high, and then we don't make a new low, and we carry on like this. And so it looks like we haven't made a correction at all. It looks like just a pullback in the same uptrend, but it really is a correction. And that's what I think we could have done here in Bitcoin if we go beyond that level, that 5th wave, can't be. So if we go beyond that 13,500 level, this is probably how I think we've done it. We've done wave 1, and this is 5 waves up here, and this is our ABC correction. And now we're starting 1 of 3. We'll have a shallow pullback, and then the bigger wave 3 of 3 of 3 will begin, and we'll see really strong upside movement. And so, potentially we have we could see some really strong volatility after this election. So that's the bullish idea. Now, the bearish idea is it's also possible, if I measure from this high to this low and we look at this swing, because we were so close to 61.8 of this first swing. So it's also very possible that this was a big ABC correction. And actually, what we're starting here is a new wave 1 of a new uptrend. So this is not it's just one of one, not one of three or three of three or anything like that. Although this, we could have still done this funky flat correction. Now, if that's the case, all well and good. It means that we don't need to have a relationship with this first wave. We're not looking for an ABC, because of when I measure this, you know, when you're looking at rallies and you want to know, is it a new uptrend or is it just a correction? The first thing I look at is, you know, what is the relationship between the two swings? And if it's an ABC, like when we stopped here, and this was just 61.8 of the first swing, that was a little bit and here, if we stop here at this equal measured move level at 14,600, that would also be a bit of a concern, because this whole rally from the December 2018 low would then be one big ABC correction. It would mean a correction, not a new uptrend. So we've got some dangerous resistance levels ahead that we have to push through. When I step back though and I look at what we're doing, they all look really strong. So I feel like, you know, we've got a really good good shot. David Corden says, have I drawn the large rising wedge from the from this 3.8k low? Yeah, I have looked at it as a rising wedge, and that's what I mean. If this is a rising wedge, as it could be, like this, I just have a little bit of trouble with how I count it. Elliot Wave Guy says, you don't, Elliot Wave Guy, listen, I am not an Elliott Wave expert, unlike you. So I am going to tell you about the patterns that you don't think so. I've got the count wrong for the bullish case, specifically for the funky correction. Okay. So I'm going to talk about so for now, we're riding all of our moving averages up in a really nice uptrend. We are at a previous level where we've had some trouble. So I do expect a little bit of a setback here. And I think a lot of what's going to depend next happens after the action. What I am going to talk about is harmonic patterns and Fibonacci patterns specifically, because when you have and Fibonacci harmonic patterns, for the most part, look at the ABC correction of patterns and whether they're trend continuation or not. And the most famous harmonic pattern is a Gartley pattern. And in a Gartley pattern, your first rally, so we put our fibs on from this high to this low, and your first rally is to the 61.8 fib level, and your second leg is to the 786, and it should also be a 1272 extension. Thank you, Elysius. It should also be a 1272 extension from this high to the low, which gives us a reversal zone up here. So I'm going to say, and so this Gartley pattern is very powerful. The best ones work when their legs are equal, when they're ABC, and in this case it won't be, it's quite a big reversal zone up here. But so then 16,125 to 16,600 becomes quite an important, for me, bearish reversal zone. This would be a Gartley pattern, and it also means it's my target. If we close above 13,346, this fib level, daily close, that's where we're headed to, 16,125. That's the next upside level. Now, for me, 61.8 levels, fib levels are messy, so are 38.2, but 236s and 786s are usually quite sharp. So that's what our next upside, kind of trouble area is going to be. And we'll just see how we go, The biggest... Elliott Wave Guy says, I have no idea what will happen longish term. Elliott Wave, no, I find it very hard. I agree with you. And if you're finding it hard, no wonder I'm struggling. Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? It is very tricky. I think that we, you know, we're all looking for the big swing, aren't we? That's gonna take it to 30,000 or 50,000 or whatever, and we don't want to miss it. And the only thing, you know, we can do is ride the waves and the pullbacks. When we were in if we look at this weekly chart, when we were in a really nice strong uptrend before, and I'm going to go to log scale here so you can see, but when we had this lovely rally from 2015 all the way to December 2017, look how we rode these weekly 20 moving averages all the way up. It was a really, really nice trend. And, you know, until we start breaking these patterns, and we're setting up the same thing here. So we bunched up all our weekly moving averages and then up we went. And when we got really stretched and really in our danger zone, it was when we were the furthest we could be from this 200 moving average. And I feel like we're setting up the same thing again. You know, we had a lot of bunching up and bottoming around here, but we're just starting to see these weekly moving averages having, you know, got above them, pulled back, found support from them, and then pulled back in September and found support from these weekly moving averages. I feel like we're just starting to do it again. And so now we should just ride the waves and look for where the next trouble area is going to be. So for me, that's 16,100 to 16,600. And then, you know, 19,600. That's my next kind of big trouble level. So do I think that we're going to see a big deep pullback here from here? No, but they do call this the golden ratio zone, and the golden ratio zone is normally between the 61.8 and the 38.2, which is in this box. It's where markets tend to consolidate quite a lot, and if you go beyond, you will go down to the 236 fib, and if you go beyond, you go to the 786, and that's how these widen up. So there is the potential. So what I want to say is, where do I know, because we're riding these moving averages very nicely, but as soon as you get further away, you kind of want to know where you're going to be wrong or where you might come back to before then. So for me, this 50% level, 11,394, it works like a staircase. If we, as long as we stay above that, we're still going up. But if we reverse at the 61.8 and then go below this 50% level, we're going to come back to 9,441. Now, I find that kind of really hard to see, but, you know, you never know. I would think it would be more likely, if you put a gun to my head, I would probably bin these fib levels. And I would say that the key level on this chart for me is 10,000. It's been support and resistance so many times that that's kind of more like my bull bear line. And that's not even it, is it? There it is. There it is, not 10,000. So, you know, these highs, lows, and this previous swing low. So 10,000, it's actually slightly lower than that. That's going to be kind of that's where I would be jonesing to buy it back if it came back there. Let's put it that way. I really hope we don't. I really hope everything continues to go well. But the biggest pressure on this, the biggest pressure at the moment on Bitcoin and almost everything is the US dollar rather than stock indexes. People have talked a lot about how the correlation with stock indexes has broken a bit, and with the NASDAQ specifically, which is Bitcoin is most correlated with, I would say that the biggest factor at the moment is the US dollar. And we should pay attention to what's happening in that one. Do I follow Timothy Peterson? No, but I will have a look. 90%, oh, never look back price. I will take a look at that. And the 11.4, yeah, okay, good. So, yeah, that's kind of, yeah, that's how, let me just go back and put these fibs on. So, potentially, 11.4. As long as, if we break 11.4, I think it's quite likely that we come back down to this daily 50 moving average, back to this 38.2 level before we go higher. And yeah, I'm not really sure how to count this. I'm going to stay open. But if you put a gun to my head, I think more likely 16,000. And I really would not want to reverse here. If we reverse at this Gartley pattern level and then we break back under these highs, then a reversal here will send us all the way back to 9,400. Again, same level, and potentially all the way back to the weekly 200 moving average. So I know I'm looking at the weekly. I really do think we've got a lot of indecision going on at the moment. I think that we could see sideways trading and some proper chop into the election, and some pretty nasty swings. If we were trading at the weekend, you know, one key thing, everyone was looking at this as a wedge at the weekend. And, you know, whenever you see a little wedge like this in a strong trend, which we'd been in a strong trend, let's face it, in Bitcoin, you're always looking for that break higher to be the last swing, and then you get a false breakout, and that's what we got. So I'm feeling a little bit bearish. I think we should pull back a little bit more, but it doesn't want to go down. So clearly a close and hold above 13,350, I would see 16. I really do think we'll see 16,200. The elections are going to impact the US dollar. That's how they're going to impact it. And the biggest driver, the biggest factor, I feel like, for these crypto is the US dollar. So in fact, let's take a look at the US dollar. If we look at, for example, let's talk about big picture euro dollar and where euro dollar reversed, because euro dollar is 56% of the dollar index, so it's the biggest factor inside of the dollar index. If I go to a weekly chart of euro dollar and the bounce off the lows in euro dollar, so it's very similar, isn't it, in fact, to Bitcoin. You can see from this low to this high, we stopped exactly at this 61.8 level. This makes me a little bit nervous that this whole thing was just a correction, unless we get above this 120 level. So now I'm watching. I'd like to see what happens underneath. Now I'm watching underneath, and it looks like we've gone into flat daily moving averages, which means we've got no trend. We've got ABC down, ABC up. This is corrective price action. It's not screaming sell me, and it's not screaming buy me. It's coiling up, if you like, and going sideways into the election. And I think we're not going to get a clear signal from that. For me, my favorite kind of leading indicators in the FX market is the dollar Canadian and the dollar Swedish krona. We're looking pretty bullish in this dollar Swedish krona as in this dollar Canadian as well, aren't we? Sideways range, double bottom, but we are pretty strongly off the lows. And this one, weekly 200 moving average, which has been pretty solid support before, also a big 61.8 level. The first rally, this is a big 61.8 level from the lows in 2017 again. So we could very easily see sideways consolidation, flat weekly moving averages. There's really no signal in the dollar. So there's no signal in Bitcoin. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen in the election. And the good news is that afterwards we should get some really decent moves. Now, if you put a gun to my head, I would buy this dollar Canadian. I think that one of the biggest negative factors for the US dollar has been the stimulus package. So, you know, the Republicans wanted to do $1 trillion. The Democrats wanted to do 2 trillion, and now Trump says he wants to do 3 trillion. I know this about politicians. It doesn't matter what side you are on. Whatever they promise before an election, it almost never happens. And let's face it. Okay, if Trump gets elected, then yes, we can get this stimulus package out pretty quickly. But imagine if Biden gets elected. He's not going to get sworn in until the beginning of next year. And so, you know, if you think that this stimulus and this money printing is a big negative, that all puts it off. And so, you know, what are we going to do? We can't sell the US dollar until, you know, Biden gets sworn in, if that happens. And I am not predicting anything. Then, but I know this, you know, whoever gets in, they're going to go, another $1 trillion? Are they really? Are they really going to spend that? I think by then, you know, we might start to be coming out of this pandemic, at least in America. Hopefully, we'll start to be coming out of it. At least the treatment is better. The number of people dying is slower, and, you know. So if we think a rally in the US dollar into this election, you know, we've got a nice big 5 waves down here in the dollar Canadian. I would not be surprised to see 3 waves up. And if we say measure this first one and we project this second one, it takes us very nicely to this weekly 200 moving average. And there's a really good support and resistance level here in the middle that comes all the way out from here at 1.345. So looking quite bouncy, I think, in the dollar Canadian. So dollar strength, at least until the election, and maybe for some time afterwards. And dollar strength is not always good for Bitcoin, that's all. The other market that I think is kind of relevant, I'm quite bearish oil. I'm very bearish oil. Let's take a look, for example, at Brent, which I think is even if you trade WTI, Brent is the key for me market. No, all the dollars printed are not, but that's how they're going to do it. They're going to inflate the debt away, aren't they? Very clearly for me, what we've done here with this sideways is an ABC rally. So we've had one big leg down, ABC, and we're looking for another leg lower. Oil absolutely loves a 38.2 fib level. And this COVID is pretty bad for demand for oil. So I'm looking for a retest of $40 in Brent. And if that breaks, I'm looking for 34.85. And in WTI, big levels here. So 36 was our support at the bottom of this. So we've had a drop. ABC bunched up all the moving averages. Again, oil loves. I'm going to go from 0 and not where we actually went, 38.2. In fact, I think it's better to look at the December futures contract for this price, because this gives us 26.88. But again, if we look at the December futures and where we're going, if we do a big, we've already bounced off this 38.2. Second leg lower should take us to 50% back. There we go. 34. So one more swing lower. I feel like we're going to see in oil. So dollar goes up, WTI goes down, and that probably means that gold is going to go down. Now I'm going to go, I've talked before about my big picture concern with gold. And my big picture concern with gold is that, you know, the big drop that we made from 2011 to 2015, that this was just an A leg in a big A, B, C correction. And the reason that I think that is because I have a lot of trouble with how I count this. But again, I am not an Elliott wave expert. I keep trying to learn more. But so potentially, if this is right and this is a big ABC, then we could see a really nasty, much bigger drop lower in gold. And gold, you know, whatever you think about gold and money printing and so on, and if this money printing gets postponed or doesn't happen because of the election, you know, that would be good for dollar strength, because a lot of people have been pricing it in. And this gold is a very crowded trade. What's interesting for me is how this 2011 high has been a really strong support and resistance level, and how, if you look here, this is our 2011 high level, how it was support, 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 and now resistance, we're underneath it and stuck underneath it. So I'm not, and the daily 50 is also up at this level. I'm really not interested in longs in gold unless we can get back above 1920 and hold that level. Otherwise, I have to say, I think this is looking really corrective, and we've got another leg lower to come back to the 1820, 1830 level. So that's how I'm seeing those major markets. Let's get them out of the way. So yeah, and you know, I think, you know, markets don't like uncertainty, so it's going to be a pretty difficult week in stock indexes. So we've said Bitcoin, a close and hold above 13,380, 13,400. We're going to look for 16,000, and I expect a shallow pullback before then, and that's what I'm looking for. If we look at ETH, where we are with ETH, I know everybody laughs at how I say ETH, because they say Ethereum, and for me, this, you know, corrections are normally 3 waves. I will do your FBTC ratio, yes, because I'm getting a little bit more bullish there. I think that we have seen this sharp drop, a ABC rally, and we need another leg lower before we carry on. So if we look at ETH/USD, especially if we look at how this rally has unfolded, sharp drop, if we measure like this, I think the second swing is 1272, the first swing, very common again in a correction when it extends beyond. If we look at fib levels, you know, this is, I'm expecting one more swing lower and a say hi to the daily 200 moving average in ETH before we carry on higher again. And that fits in with another shallow pullback in Bitcoin at a big level, and so on. So no, I'm not ready to have, I'm not ready for a big buy yet in ETH. If I measure from this low to high, yeah, 1272 down here. Let's see, we're below already the 236 fib, aren't we? So I use you know, fib levels as a trend guide, and I would say that the 236 fib is always my touchstone. If I get a reaction there, I know I've drawn it right. If we break it, then I'm looking for it to become resistance, and if not, then I probably haven't drawn this right. So yeah, that level now becomes resistance at 396 or 400 is resistance in ETH, I think, and then we're going to see another swing lower. If that is the high, I would probably just measure it like this. I'm looking for at least a retest of the lows then around 310, and potentially we could see 250. ETH, it's really interesting, you know, when ETH gets a groove on, or it's trending, how the round numbers, so 400, 350, 300, 250 work in ETH. So I think that the simple way to look at this is say, if these 300 lows don't hold in ETH, look for 250 next on the downside. That just is how it does tend to work when it's moving. Now let's take a look at ETH Bitcoin, because that's the biggest question for me is, you know, do I want to buy ETH instead of Bitcoin or not? Now, when I looked at this before, so price very often is contained in a rising channel. Here, when I look at this whole big rally from the lows in ETH Bitcoin, this is a daily chart. So the big rally is from September a year ago. So we're basically looking at the last year. I've got 2 touches on the top side, and if I make this into a parallel channel, you can see and project it from here. This is where I'm looking for on the bottom rail, and I'm also looking for 50% back and this 200 moving average, which gives me a target a little bit lower. Why do I look at how this 38.2 was pretty good support, and I'm going to say that I'm wrong if we get back above and hold above that 38.2. Otherwise, this next level in the staircase and this swing low here at 0.0284 is where I'm looking for next, and this high. So whenever you get a bearish cross of your daily moving averages, and I like to use the 20 and the 50, I'm always looking for it to come back to the 200. And the 200 has been pretty good support and resistance in ETH Bitcoin if we look back, and so that's where I think we're headed to. So we've got a bit further to fall before it's time to buy ETH again. That's how I see that one. Hi, Spotter. Euro pound is interesting, isn't it? The pound strength has been crazy when you think about what's going on in the world. Okay, so all of the other coins that we're looking at tonight are the coins that were requested in my trading group. And then we'll do everybody else's afterwards. Hold on a minute. I'm just trying to pull my list up. I'm not doing very well. Here we go. I'm probably going to go wrong. I have to go all the way back up. Okay. So next one I'm going to look at is NEO. I'm just going to go in the list order underneath. NEO. Now we're going to look at them mostly against. We're going to look at them mostly against the dollar, and then we'll look at them against Bitcoin. If they're doing well against the dollar, we'll look at them against Bitcoin to see if it's worth buying them or not. Now in this one, again, I said, you know, I always look at, if I take my other indicators that I use away, which is, there we go, and these moving averages away, and we just look at this. Whenever you see a rally that's a dead equal measured move like this, so you measure the first swing, you have a pullback, and the second swing stops when they're equal, it's always a warning that this whole rally is just a correction. And that's what we've seen in NEO Tether. So since the 7th of October low here, this is a ABC pattern, and that normally points to new lows. It points, for me, the minimum is a 786 retrace when I have an ABC. So I put the fibs on both swings, A leg and the BC leg, and I'm looking for 786, and that's the most likely place for it to bounce, and it's called a cipher pattern. And very often it does line up with this previous swing low, and here we are. So we're at potentially a bounce level for NEO Tether. When you bounce from a 61.8, the confirmation that you've reversed is back above the 61.8 again. Okay, so that's this little high here, 17.21. So we've got a nice it's a doji, it's not quite a hammer, is it? If we can get back above 17.214, then we will rally to these highs and 17.965. And then I think if we can go beyond there, then we can say it's a bottom. But with this 786, what you tend to see is a rally to the 38.2, a pullback somewhere to the middle, usually, and then the market decides which way next. Either carry on up or we'll rally, we'll find resistance, and we'll continue lower. So we are at a potential bounce level at 16.68, but I'd like to see it above 17.21 if we are going to rally from here, and if not, we could just carry on lower. Because if we carry on lower and we take these little fibs and we look bigger picture in NEO, back to the daily, you can see from this big rally, we're kind of going sideways at this 236 fib level, really, aren't we? So if we break down, if we go beyond this 786 fib level that we're sitting on, then I think 50% back of this whole rally at 14.89 is where we're going to end up. So expect a little bounce here. How high we bounce will tell us whether we've saved the day and we're going to keep going up or not. But when I look at this, you know, and we add in the moving averages we add in the bearish cross and this ABC pattern, I really do think that the path, unfortunately, the path of least resistance is lower, and we're going to end up somewhere between this 50% and the 61.8 at this 200-day moving average. So we need a bit of a Hail Mary save down here in NEO. Now, is it outperforming Bitcoin? Do we want to take a look? Let's see. That's my dog having a drink. That's nice, isn't it? I keep meaning to move the water when I start this. So again, you know, we are pretty close to a level where we could see a bounce. If we look at the fib levels, we've drawn them from this big swing here in Neo Bitcoin, and you can see we've had a pretty good reaction at other fib levels. A messy 38.2. We stopped for 3 days at the 50%. We stopped for 7 days at the 61.8, and here we are coming up very fast on the 786. And this 200-day moving average, I think if we could bounce from here and get back above that 200 moving average, that would be quite an interesting reversal. If we can't and we stay underneath it, but I would be surprised if we didn't get a reaction here. So in NEO, yeah, we are around a bounce level, but not quite getting moving yet. Okay, Leon, thanks. Okay, so that's Neo Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Haven, which is okay. I feel bad. Okay, before I need to warn you, if you go and try and do this Haven in any size at all, you will move the market like you dropping a rock in a pond. Okay, this is a really illiquid market where it's very difficult to do any size. I'm just warning you, and you need an account at Bittrex, so that's probably most of you can't do this anyway. But let me get my Heikin-Ashi candles off. I really do like this little coin. I really do like this price action. I really do like how we've bouncing off this 200 moving average, and look what a great support and resistance this is. If I measure this first big move lower that we made and this second one, we're not quite at that 61.8 level, but this 200 moving average for me is king of the chart, and I'm really liking this reaction so far. So what are the main indicators that I look at? I will explain at the end, actually. I have a really simple, okay, I've got volume in here because this is such a skinny little coin. So here, when I look at the bottom here, see how we're bouncing off the lows? For me, this is a 4-hour buy setup counter trend, okay? I use moving averages. So pretty much everything on this chart is to do with a moving average. Heikin-Ashi candles are like a moving average on the candle. They turn from red to green when you go from bearish to bullish. These lines are moving averages, and this is a commodity channel index on the bottom, which is based on a moving average, whatever moving average you put in. I've got it on a 14, so it's a 14 moving average, okay? And when you cross this center line in the middle, you're crossing the moving average. So you're getting above it. And so I use this as a trigger. So for me, this is, yeah, one leg up, and I'm looking for another leg up, and the top of this lovely channel, and this 4-hour 200 moving average in Haven. And then if this time we can break out, which I'm hoping we can, then that's a nice long entry next leg up for Haven. I've been measuring these swings like this, and here. So here I think this is our first leg lower, and then we went A, B, C, and this is our 5 waves down, final leg lower. So for me, Haven is long, but again, I'm telling you, if you go into Haven right now and try to buy more than half a Bitcoin, you will spike the market. It's a very tricky one, okay? That's all. It's thin and crispy, but fun. You can learn some skills trading tricky markets like this. Okay, so I like Little Haven to the top of the channel, 16,000, and then I'm looking for the next leg higher and hopefully new highs. Link, let's look at Link, which is everybody's favorite DeFi coin. And the cause of much pain, I believe. So I know I have a lot of charts open. Some people say they look at my thing and they give some anxiety seeing how many charts I have open. So let's look at big picture Link Tether, because we're doing that golden ratio zone thing. Okay, let me take some of these lines away because we don't need them. So we have this lovely rally, we have this lovely correction, we pull back to the 61.8 fib level, that golden ratio zone thing. This 50% level in the middle has been a really strong pivot level. It held us down for 1, 2, 3 weeks. Then we got above it and hit our 38.2 target. Now I expect us to pull back to the middle of this golden ratio zone, this 50% level at 10.73, and then what happens there will tell us which way next for Link. I expect we should find support there and carry on higher, but you never know. These moving averages say we should find support here and carry on higher, but you never know. We could also, like Bitcoin, draw this as a bit of a rising wedge, couldn't we? And in which case, we don't want to drop out of the bottom if we can help it, if I connect these two like this. So here's our support, and a little bit further to come back, 10.73. Now, it would be bearish if we got underneath 10.73 and then that level became resistance. If you've got a bag and we did that, that would be your sell indicator, if you like. If we come back here and we find buyers, and happy days. But that's where I think we're coming back to. Now, if we come back here and we lose this 50%, and then we come back to this 61.8, remember, we'll probably do one of those big nasty Gartley patterns, and this all the way down at this 7.86 is where we're likely to end up, and that's all the way down at 5.73. So I wouldn't be holding on if we lose 10. I would be thinking about sort of getting out and waiting for a better opportunity. So if you're waiting to buy this one because it's going to the moon, then 10.73 is a really good place to look to buy against. Let's see. So if I look at low time frame, actually we might not even come back that far. It looks pretty. Yeah, it does look pretty. Let's see. Link isn't one of them, but crypto, you know, loves to double test levels or do deep ray traces. It'll make a high and then a retest and a low and a double. So that means, you know, very often you'll say, oh yeah, we're on our way down, and come all the way back and freak everybody and double top and then do it. So, you know, until we get above 12.95 or below 10.73, this is our kind of range, if you like. Okay. Now, is Link still outperforming Bitcoin? That's the main question. Because if it's not, you don't really want to be messing with it. And again, you know, we've got this 61.8 thing, but we haven't really broken out. Now, this chart makes me nervous. You know, because these triangle patterns and these wedges, they normally break with the trend, and the trend in this case in Link is lower. So, you know, I wouldn't be spending my Bitcoin on Link unless we broke out the top of this wedge, to be honest. I think that, yeah, maybe it is next best to Bitcoin. To be honest, when you're going sideways, does it matter which one you're in? They're all pretty much doing the same thing, aren't they? Floating on the tide of crypto. Okay, so that's Link. I'm not quite super bullish yet, but it has potential. Next one we're going to look at is Key. I don't know if I've got a chart ready for Key. We're going to take a look. Oh, how nice. My silver chicken is injured. Great. And that news couldn't wait to the end. What were we looking at? Key. Okay, so this is quite a bullish looking chart, isn't it? The way we've bounced off this 200 moving average and come back to these daily moving averages and found some support. We really should be looking for this to find some support and turn around and turn higher from here soon. So let's see where we are. If we look, this is potentially a really nice ABC correction. The second swing is 61.8 of the first swing. So a really good support level, a retest of these lows. It's a pretty good support and resistance level. If we go left, look here, and we take this all the way across. It's lows, highs. So you know, yeah, I like this here. But at the moment, we've got one 4-hour candle that says buy me, and the rest of it, you know, to be honest, is not quite ready to go. No daily reversal candle yet, just a long tail. So holding these moving averages, and yes, I do think that we could see a rally from here if we get some nice reversal price action. In terms of momentum, when I look at the CCI, I feel like we need a little bit more of a time here. And yeah, really good. It is a really good level. So Key, what would make me want to buy it? Let's talk about this. So when I look at all my 4-hour bunched up moving averages here, I'm going to put my Heikin-Ashi candles on. If we break here above this support and resistance level that I'm looking at, it goes all the way back. And if we close above all of these moving averages, so a little bit higher, maybe 2,500, that would be a really good signal that we're on our way higher from here. Another way that I look at it, I'll put my fibs on from this high to this low. If we can trade above the 236 fib, which is then just here. These highs, that's 2478, so 2,500. That would be a really good bullish signal. So not quite at the moment, you know, we could just get stuck going sideways. So yeah, I'm waiting for a bullish signal here in self key, and above 2,500 I would really like this. Okay, you know, that poor chicken was picked on by the others, so she wouldn't go in the house, and I think she's been trying to sleep in a tree, only they're enormous chickens and they're no good at flying. So and I should have gone up there and made sure she went to bed with them, the others, so that's my fault. Okay, next one we're going to look at is NIM. I don't think I have a chart ready for this one, so we're going to do a new one from scratch. Don't worry, all the ones that you've asked for at the beginning I will look at. I can't remember, I think it was BNB. Did somebody ask for BNB? Probably. Okay. And Dot, we had Dot in our group this morning. This is I really do like the setup in Dot, I have to say. So I'm really upset by the chicken. Okay, NIM, that's what we're going to look at, NIM. NIM, Bitcoin. Coin. Let's look at KeyCoin chart. Okay. So this has had a lovely day, isn't it? In a day when everything else is a little bit heavy or it's toppy or at resistance, we've made a really nice base and a rally. The problem is that we've only rallied to our 20 moving average, which on the daily here in this coin has been resistance all the way down. It was resistance when we tried at the end of August, in September. It was resistance when we tried on the 21st of September. So here we are again. If I would expect a little bit of a pullback after a big day up day like this, the most common candle that you will see next day is either an inside bar or a doji pause, or it will keep going. We're not going to go all the way back into the lows, but we might have a little trouble getting through this 236 fib the first time. So not quite enough yet for me to say that the downtrend is over. There's that 236 fib there, right there at the same place. So I'm just looking at the most recent swing lower. 1936 may be a bit of resistance, and then if we get above that, I'd be looking kind of for 50% back. So good place, and the daily 50 in these lows. And then, you know, we can talk about it. What happens when your daily moving averages are the wrong way round like this is you'll tend to get a rally, and you'll come back, and that's where you'll come back and either make a double bottom or some kind of other bottoming pattern. At the moment, this is just a rally in a downtrend. It needs to make more of a bottoming pattern. Let's take a look and now quickly see, is this at a kind of place where we would be excited about it making a low after all this way down? Yeah, 8, so not quite yet, but potentially. Yeah, it's not enough. I know you want me to say this is the biggest buy ever and this is such great price action, but you know, it's just the first bounce. So now I'd really like to see a lower, like for example here on these 4-hour moving averages, all the way down here, they were resistance. Now I'd like to see us pull back and hold them as support, and then I would be excited about buying it. That's what I want to see. You know, when we've gone up 5 days in a straight line, go away, Blondie. I don't, it's hard to, you can't buy it here, can you? So, but does it look good? Yeah, it looks good. So, okay, that's key. Actually, that's the wrong, sorry, NIM, that's NIM, NIMIC Bitcoin. Let's look at it against the US dollar. Tether. Now, looks much better go here, doesn't it? This really is a bullish reversal. So, James, could you come and get your dog, please? Thanks. So if we take this last swing lower, I've just got a 4-hour chart. We're a little bit I really would like to see a decent pullback in this one. So what we've done, haven't we, is so this 236 perfect reaction. There's 50% kind of nice reaction as well with 786. You know, if we drop back underneath this 61.8 here now, this becomes key support. Let me put regular candles on. This here 23,742, we will drop from the 786 to the 38.2, which is much further down, and we'll get that bigger correction. So we'll drop from here to here. If we don't, and if we just hold this level, we're still in an uptrend. So we're still in an uptrend if we stay above 23,680. But if we drop beneath it, look for a pullback to 21,700 before we go up again. Looks like I'm drawing arses, doesn't it? Don't mean to. Okay. Okay. Dot. What a lovely move in dot. So yeah, today we were looking at dot in my trading room. So if we look at dot Bitcoin, we've been in this really, this is a 4-hour chart of dot Bitcoin. We've been in this really long declining wedge. Let me get rid of some of these fibbles. I had been looking for lower, but it's starting to look like potentially we could see a bit of a breakout. The problem is I prefer parallel channels to narrowing wedges. And I find that if you get a wedge that you draw that narrows like this one, that when you actually hit resistance, it's where you hit the parallel. So if I clone this and make a parallel and say put it back on this high here, if I'm going to hit resistance, it's most likely going to be around here. And I think underneath this 61.8 and so on. So I'm thinking that dot looks really good. If we look at dot tether, we've made a really nice move from an inverted head and shoulders pattern. I think that this certainly we flipped the downtrend for now, but we need to do that little bit more if we're going to go up from here. Now I've got fibs going that way and I'm not sure I like them, so I'm going to put them the other way. I'm going to go from this high here. I'm just having a chart cleanup. So dot Bitcoin. In fact, we could probably make it a little bit. Fucking hell. Jesus. Sorry. Hold on. Gunner. No. Gunner. Okay, James is here now. Well done. Hooray. Can you see this support and resistance level that we've paused at? I expect a shallow setback here and then continue higher to the top of the wedge and the top of this range, sideways range that we're in. So 38,531 next. And this is, today, this is a temporary setback at support and resistance. So that's where we are. Oh God, I can't fucking concentrate at all. Here we go. Let's try dot US dollar tether. Now this morning, this is it's kind of nice inverted head and shoulders pattern, if you like. I'm not a big fan of sloping head and shoulders patterns, but when they make at bottoms, I don't mind them when they slope this way. I find they don't work so well when they slope the other way. So this was potentially it. You know, we had a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and we were looking for a breakout. I much prefer horizontal breakout levels, and in this case, because we were doing this 61.8 fib level, this 50% level was our breakout level above 4.43, and our target is now 5.0. So we've got further to go in dot tether. You should buy pullbacks. When I like to, in a fast trending market, I really do like to look at a 15-minute pullbacks. I look for little ABCs and this continue higher. So when we break these highs here, this will be our next leg higher and to our target in dot US dollar tether. So that's our first target at the 38.2 fib level, isn't it? Because of this head and shoulders pattern, I actually think that we should exceed this, and I think that the second target should be the 236 fib up here, and that's at set 5.7. So yes, this is a lovely looking bottom. It's doing pretty well in dot. We've had a really nice move. We've broken out today. I love how we've broken out above the daily 50 moving average. Our point that we're wrong, the place where we shouldn't come back underneath now is this daily 50 moving average in here. So this level where we've broken out from is now support, you know, and yeah, looking for shallow pullbacks, and then we keep going higher. Okay, that 4.39. Okay, I know, I'll try and relax. I'm just trying to do a good job and make sense and be helpful to people. So there we go. So DOT, really nice trade. KNC. There are a few, you know, of these. This KSM, I quite like this KSM. This is KSM tether I was watching today, but I'm really concerned that this KSM has stopped at an equal measure move level here at 36. So now there's a couple of things I'm looking for in this KSM. When I see this pullback, like this tail, is quite worrying. If we pull back first off below this daily 50 moving average again, that wouldn't be good. But this 61.8, more importantly, that's the level we don't want this to come back against. So if we were looking at where to buy, for example, this one, this is another DeFi one that I was looking at, 32.29 is where I would want to see it pull back to, and then break that bearish symmetry, if you like. But at the moment, I have to say, this just looks like a corrective move. So let's look at the other KNC one that we were supposed to be looking at. It's a bit of a quiet night with this pullback and this election ruining everything, isn't it? KNC. Let's go to the start on the weekly with this one and have a look at where we are, because clearly we're stuck in a bit of a tricky sideways range, aren't we? And how many weeks have we been here? This is against the US dollar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in this range. So a nasty drop. I actually thought, gosh, this is a really nice kind of quite a bullish swing failure pattern here on the weekly. See how we made a new low, but we couldn't close the week at this new low. But then following that, you know, we've stayed underneath it, haven't managed to recover, haven't managed to get out of this sideways range. So there is no trend here in KNC. We are bumping along the bottom. Clearly, every time we come down here, it's not a bad buy, and there are buyers, and it could be that it could be, you know, when you so you do a 5-wave triangle, so it could be a 5-wave triangle at Elliott Wave, which could be quite bearish because it breaks with the trend. The good news about that is that if we do, then it will be the last leg, so we won't go that much further, if you like. So if we were to go a little bit lower and fib levels, where would we go? I think that potentially, but this 113 and this one 1.13 and then 1217. So this is the 1.3 extension that we're sitting on. That's the inverse of the 886, right? And then the 1272, if this support breaks, is where we're probably headed at 716. So if this was our move in, we're going to go A, B, C, D, E. I have seen quite often the E doesn't get all the way to the top of the wedge. So I would expect this. And then, now I'm wrong, obviously. What would make me wrong and you be a good buy in Kyber Network? Well, clearly if we break out of this, if this is actually just an ABC, or and if we break out here and pull back and find support, then that's obviously a really nice long, and we're not going to go lower. But for me, Kyber Network it's not on my radar unless we can break out of this sideways range. Okay, I'm just going to whiz back and make sure nobody asked for something that I didn't see. Hi, Casabona. We're going to look at BNB US dollar tether before we go. Yeah, let's do that. Let's again go back. So we've got Binance Tether. So first of all, we want to make sure, are we really going up against the US dollar? And then we'll make sure, are we really going up against Bitcoin? Because should we spend our hard-earned Bitcoin on it? Okay, now if I put regular candles on, I've gone from this low to high. When you reverse at an 886, your first target is the 50%. Your second target is the 236, and then you usually see a pullback to the middle. So we've done that whole pattern, and we've done that pullback to the middle. So my only fear is this pullback to the middle. Is this just an A leg and a bigger ABC before we carry on? And so now we need to look under the hood here. And I'm really not sure. So we're going to do the old-fashioned way and say, you know, if we close above, a daily close above this 236 fib level that we're back testing, then that's it, we've broken out. And this was finished. But if we don't, I feel like there is a possibility that we see one more swing lower before higher in BNB. So we need a breakout, don't we? We really need a breakout. Let's go back to the weekly because I'm going to hide these fibs and put them on the other way. And say, what do we need to see at this? Where might we go? Well, if we get a daily close, so a daily close above 31.16, which has been where we're stuck at, would mean a retest of 32.48. And above 32.48, no, you take that stick out. No sticks. A close above 32.48 would take us to 35.80 next. That's what I'd be looking for. So this is still resistance here. And then this is the next upside, and then so on. Okay? Let me see. Okay. So I'm sorry for all the noise and the bloody chicken and the dogs. Okay, Monero and Litecoin. Let's take a quick look at Monero. Monero's been really outperforming, hasn't it? These privacy coins. I was hoping ZRX would do some follow on as well and rally like Monero, but it hasn't. Remember, corrections are normally 3 waves. 1, 2, 3. Here, I feel like this is 1, 2, and we've got another. A lot of these crypto are in the same position. So this was our A leg, B, and we'll see another C leg before we carry on higher. These are starting to flatten out, but where would I be wrong? Well, if we close above 134.09, that would be bullish. So daily close, a Monero tether above 34.09, we're going to look for 147 and 180 for 1. So above 134, we'll see 148 really, and then 181. Otherwise, I think A, B, C. Expect a third leg before. So 1, 2, 3 before we rally again. Big deal level here, isn't it? So what's my view on the current Bitcoin? I'm really quite bullish Bitcoin, but I think that we're at a level where we could see a bit of a shallow pullback ahead of the election, and then we'll see what happens with the election, to be honest. I feel like we're just at a place where we could see a bit of a pullback. It's not a great buy level, but that doesn't mean that I'm not bigger picture bullish. I am bigger picture bullish. And in Litecoin's been on fire, catch up, but it's all catch up. When I look at, this is a weekly chart of Litecoin, Bitcoin, and I see, you know, these lows and this swing failure pattern, we're still in a bit of a sideways range, aren't we? We haven't managed to, we've held the lows here. But if we look at where the highs are, here, we have not managed to close and get out of this sideways range. So we had a peak above and a peak underneath, but we haven't really escaped this sideways range. So I'm hoping for a little bit of a bottoming pattern, not a new low, something like that in Litecoin, Bitcoin. Might say that the rot is over and we could see a bit more of a rally, because this isn't, let's face it, we've stopped going down, but we've been in a really quite extended downtrend for Litecoin, haven't we? If we don't reverse this downtrend, and this is, you know, if you just think of trends as simple things, so a downtrend is, you know, lower highs and lower lows. To reverse the downtrend, you have to take out this high. Then you have to have a pullback to make a lower high, and then you've reversed the trend. And sometimes it's going to look like a head and shoulders, and sometimes it'll look more like that. But that's your trend reversal, and where you're looking to buy is where it turns up again here. You know, that's a good place, because you know you're going to see at least one more leg higher. At the moment, all we've done is stopped going down. We have to take out this high, and then we can say we're going up. Otherwise, we're really still in a downtrend. And when I look at on the weekly at these fib levels and how we've been reacting to them, you know, I feel like we could still head lower, and Litecoin is not finished yet. However, that's against Bitcoin. Litecoin US dollar. Gosh, it's like now. So that 61.8, 38.2 thing, no man's land, right? So from this high to this low, 61.8 down to the 38.2, we're above this 50%. I feel like 50%, halfway back of this candle. If we're going to keep going, this is where the support should be. And if I look at this on a daily, get out of the way, there we go. A little bit lower then before we come back and test support, or this daily 20 moving average to catch up. So we've had a really nice rally and a bit of a pullback. Remember, whenever I look at a rally, I'm always going, oh, was this an ABC or one of those tricky equal measured moves? It doesn't look like it in Litecoin. So I'm a little bit more optimistic. Let's hide these fibs and look at these shorter term ones and say, is this anything scary yet? No, it's just, it's 61.8, 38.2 again. Markets that make these patterns tend to keep repeating them. So from this high to this low, 61.8, that means our support down here is at the 38.2. And then, you know, this 50% in the middle, well, it will decide it. We'll either go higher or lower from here. I don't know why there is no replay on YouTube. I assume there always is. So that's really annoying that there isn't one. Does anybody else not have a replay? Leon, let's go back to Bitcoin. Do I not think it would... Do I think OMG will retest the... Do I think OMG will test the 200 day? Yeah. Because it's such good support, isn't it? This one's annoying, OMG, isn't it? I know what you mean. I'm going to say I think it will. And the reason I think it will is because, see this last swing lower before we made the big high. In corrections, this swing is normally where a market would come back to, this low here, rather than this low. And so this is where I would say that the support is for Bitcoin. And so, yeah, I think it probably will. And if I... Honestly, this is the last week. The door's wide open thanks to the dogs. I'm absolutely bloody freezing. And there's sticks and God knows what everywhere. So, yeah, when I take this swing low to high here, and I look at this 786 fib that we haven't held, and I look at the 886 where this lines up, I have to say, yeah, I think this is probably where we're headed. So... yeah, it seems like that's where it's going, Connor. Damn. I can see why it bounced here. It's such a, big deal. Level from this high, this low. And so, we might not break it first time. But, yeah, I would feel like this is where we're probably going to go. Okay, back to Bitcoin. I'm going to go back to the daily chart of Bitcoin. I don't know if we'll test 12,300. I would say short term is so hard. That would be those highs, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think there's a very good chance that it comes back and tests 12,300 in Bitcoin. What price will Bitcoin be in 12 months? It'll definitely be higher. I feel like just I don't know. If we can get above 16,000, okay, for me this is really my 16,600. This is my big bull bear line. I'm really, really, really bullish above 16,000. Okay, really bullish. But if we stop here and another leg lower, I'm not going to be so much so. Okay? Okay, I don't think I've got a chart for Coty. Let's have a look. And this is going to be the last one. Ta-da! I'm sorry I've been so distracted tonight. Let's see, Coty. Yeah, for me, it's all about what happens at 16,600. Okay. Now, let's go back to that, because I think this is a significant level for Coty, this 886, that we've managed to claw our way back above. When I look at all of the other fib levels and the reactions and support and resistance, this, if we can hold above 259, I think we should keep going higher. So 259 was where I'd be looking for support. And here on the 4 hour, is where all my moving averages are. So I'm going to stay bullish above 259. And I'm looking for a retest of 325. I would say not really a reversal unless we can get above 325 in terms of Fibonacci levels. That would be my target. Then let's try this the other way around. So 325 was what we said, wasn't it? So above 325, my first target's going to be 373. That's the big 236 fib from this high, and 200 moving average, and a whole bunch of resistance there. So 325 and then 373 target above 325. Sometimes, you know, it takes a bit of time to see. When we bottomed here, we made a low and then we retested it, sometimes with a marginal new low or a deep retest. And this is just our first bounce here. It may be that we need to do that again before we can make a decent base in Coty to launch off, okay? Is the Dow going to all-time highs? Okay, I don't know if you remember what happened when Donald Trump got elected in 2016, but the market sold off pretty sharply for a week or so, and then it rallied and never looked back. Now, and so, you know, do I think that the high or the low of the market is going to be on election night? Probably not. I think we'll probably see a move, and then a move that probably could be reversed. You know, we need to hear about policy. We need to hear how much is he going to spend on stimulus? Is there going to be any stimulus? Is he going to send checks out to people before Christmas? Because a lot of people are in trouble and have no money, and that would actually be quite a stimulating thing, you know. Wouldn't be good for the US dollar, but then everything priced in US dollar will go up if that happens. Yeah, I don't know. If Biden gets elected, then we could see the opposite. We could see the market rally initially and then fall and not stop. And remember, he gets elected, but then there's a couple of months before he can do anything. So, you know, what's Donald Trump going to do then? Will he pass a lot of stimulus? I think that actually what we're most likely to see is then a contested election. He will then challenge the result. And then I think it could get very ugly with uncertainty. And that's going to be the biggest negative for the market of all. You know, if Biden wins and Trump challenges it, that could happen. I know from in the UK, you know, a lot of people, when politics is so partisan, like it was with Bitcoin, a lot of people don't want to say what their view is. How do we trust these polls? Is Biden really going to win? Or are there a lot of people who support Trump but are embarrassed to support him and are going to vote for him anyway, even though he's appalling to women and etc., etc.? You know, if I was an American, I would be suicidal because I don't like either of them. And can we really not get anybody under 70? Like, there are young people with great energy and ideas, and we've got these two bloody ancient... Honestly, I can't... It's like, exactly, pick your poison. You know, Trump has a lot of good ideas. Women hate Trump. Trump has a lot of good ideas, but he's so vain, and he's so thin-skinned, and he's just so arrogant. It's just, oh my God, you know? I don't know. I just, I would vote for Bernie Sanders. Like, you know, the UK's no difference. Not left, right, not forward, exactly. All right then. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. See you. So next week will be the day before the election. We won't know any more. It won't be any better, but we'll take a look at it anyway. Okay? South Park has been right for the last 15 to 20 years. It's between a giant dish and a turd sandwich every time. Exactly. And you know which one is the turd? Okay, because what do they say? You can't polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter. And so that is Trump. Orange glitter. Okay, bye everyone. Have a great night. I always lose followers when I talk about politics. There's no good outcome. Bye everyone.